My name is Michaela Smith.
My name is Keenan Yellowhammer.
Hamadagyapi, Dayanwachianke, Chante or Stena Pechiapi, Natakta Lutoni, Bokolia, Imachiapi, Na Shvan Tubers, Washuchia, Imachiapi. Hello, my relatives. It is good to see you. I greet you all with a heartfelt handshake. My Lakota name is Red Deer Woman, and my government issue name is Shvan Tubers.
My name is Ron Kahana.
My name is Mitchell Yellow.
And I'm Abraham Weasel. And our question today is, why is the Lakota Dakota language important to the people, and why is it important to keep the language alive? Definitions. Why? For what reason, cause, or purpose? Dakota, another name for Teton. Dakota, a former territory in the United States divided into the states of North Dakota and South Dakota. Language, communication by voice in a distinctively human manner. Importance, of much or great significance or consequence. Keep, to hold or maintain in one's possession. And alive is living and existing. Okay. My summary. This article, Reading and Writing the Lakota Language, Yes, We Can, was written by Francie Washburn, a Lakota professor who used to work at a university in Nebraska. She posted a journal article in the winter-spring 2003 issue of American Indian Quarterly, stating how Indian beliefs and existence have become so misunderstood that when we stand to speak the truth, we are unlikely to be believed and corrected by non-Indians. The reason is that she picked up a copy of a campus newspaper and was appalled at a story, Lakota may appear on the Sheridan County polls, which talked about the United States Department of Justice adding an unexpected language, the Lakota Sioux language, to its ballots. The article concluded that the Sioux cannot be simply written on the ballots, as it is an oral language. This statement shocked Washburn, as a Lakota professor who knew that was not the truth. And she writes how Stephen Riggs, who was a missionary and linguist in the 1800s, was one of the first people to read oral language. She gives more examples of the Lakota and Dakota languages being written throughout dictionaries and grammar books. The university in Nebraska was wrong for this, as the entire state is surrounded by Native American tribes, from Dakota, Otos, Omahas, and others. She called up the newspaper and told them how the story was wrong, and they told her that she was wrong, unconvinced even as she was a Lakota speaker and writer. She flies out to Texas with her friend, where she guest speaks in a class and alerts the students about this situation. Though no solution is ever given in this journal article, she simply ends it with, "It seems ironic to me that some white people ignorantly assume that Native Americans are ignorant."
My article is called To Save Our Languages, We Must Change Our Teaching Methods, and it's authored by Richard Gilbert. In the article, he talks about techniques and strategies to preserve the Native American language before it's completely gone. He also talks about how he's traveled to several language teaching programs around the states and how he saw certain practices that make us unwitting accomplices in the loss of Native American language. In the article, there's a topic called emphasizing writing over speaking, and he explains how most Native American language learners were taught the language by other speakers. He says that we tend to forget that we acquire fluency by speaking. We often emphasize writing over speaking. He believes that the Native American language should be taught orally, and that we should simply speak our Native American language or teach speaking to anyone willing to learn the language. He says, when taught that way, our languages are acquired in a natural context, which is essential for fluency and coherence. There's another topic in the article called teaching words out of context. And in this topic of the article, he states that Native American language should be taught in the sense of everyday conversation, not as isolated words. There's a quote from the article, which is, by teaching isolated words, we are creating whole tribes who will speak only in numbers, colors, or body parts with nothing linking them. He also talks about how he doesn't believe in creating new words or terms for the Native American language. He explains how difficult it is to teach new terms compared to the old days because it was more oral. He closes out his article by saying he believes the language is sacred and comes from the Holy Spirit. He believes it's going to be a challenge to preserve the language, but he believes it's possible and is encouraging others to change their teaching practices so we can learn our language effectively.
Thank you, good.
The title of my article is Bringing Lakota Culture to Life and was written by Johnny D. Boggs. It talks about a writer, illustrator, and a former public art teacher named Nelson, who teaches kids about Lakota history, culture, and traditions through books as Sitting Bull. It says Nelson took inspiration from his family heritage and his grandmother and mother. They were born and raised on the Standing Rock Reservation, and on his mother's side, they taught him about his Lakota traditions. In his words, Nelson said, "As a boy, I discovered that the prairies of Dakotas are only earth and sky." He says his mother told him coyote stories about the trickster. His mother also said, "If you look carefully, you can see the Great Bear and the stars that does not turn, aka the North Star." Nelson was recognized by Western Writers of America for his beautifully illustrated and narrated books with multiple awards. Long before Nelson took writing, he loved art, and the first time was back in 1952 through 58. His mother took private oil painting lessons from a German artist. Nelson studied for an art degree in Minnesota State University, Moorhead. He was also taught at a public school in North Dakota and Arizona for teaching art. Before Nelson starts a subject, he researches and relies on personal experience. His work has appeared in magazines and other writers' books. Nelson's artistic style is traditional Lakota ledger art. He explains how he brushes, splatters, sprays, drips, and sponges. Basically, he is a devoted art teacher and illustrator. He likes to paint and write stories about the traditional culture and the stories his mother taught him.
This article, No Child Law, poses challenges to Indians by Sean Kavanaugh. Talks about how most young people growing up on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota know how to speak Lakota from hearing it from their elders and parents. However, when these children start school, they start to know both languages but are not fully fluent in either language. Schools with Indian populations face major hurdles in complying with the No Child Left Behind Act, educators say. The president at the time, Bush, is expected to sign an executive order emphasizing the White House's commitment to helping Indian schools meet the demands of the law. But 500,000 students are American Indians or Alaska Natives in the United States public schools, and they're required to follow the No Child Left Behind law. At least 95% of the student population in the Shannon school system is Lakota Sioux, and many students switch schools. Indian schools have a long history of struggling on standardized tests, in part because of their lack of knowledge of English. The No Child Left Behind Act requires states to test students with limited English proficiencies in grades K through 12 and in English and mathematics beginning in 3rd grade. But many states do not have native language versions of their English language assessments. These reservation schools just want to find a way to add culture into the students' education and remain keeping their language alive by still allowing them to use their Lakota language in school.
My article title is Layers of the Winter, Lakota History, Language, and Voices in the Archives. She wanted to understand Lakota history across the U.S.-Canada border, but some sources discussing it can be non-existent. That is when she comes across a letter in 1912 written by Wounded Horse, along with other documents on Canadian Indian affairs at a university library. The entire letter was written in the Lakota language and was sent to the Indian Affairs and Royal Northwest Mounted Police. Wounded Horse brought matters forward to them, alerting them about the white settlers using land on the reservation as livestock. He also asked for a school to be built rather than sending their children to residential schools. Thompson states in their article how his letter is an exceptional example of a Lakota person's own words and language making it into the settler colonial archive. There is more to the article, with the letter being addressed to the Chief Inspector, Glenn Campbell, and how he knew some Dakota and replied Wounded Horse's letter itself is what stuck out to me the most, and I suggest everyone can give this article a read.
Good. Now, did you come across any potential solutions?
We have, one more summary.
Oh, one more? Okay, I'm ready.
In my article, Reading and Writing Lakota Language by Morgan Mindy, she talks about the Lakota language had been obsolete for many years due to the boarding school era. She also states that the late Albert Whitehat in jail camp had created a textbook and an orthography for learning to speak the Lakota language. With the help of many Lakota speakers and elders from Rosebud and Pine Ridge tribes, that book became the English Lakota dictionary that would widely be used as a teaching curriculum and base for teaching the Lakota language to many students. The author also states that this orthography had some complications for reading and learning to write the language. Mindy also observed that learning the language also proved to be difficult in a classroom setting, and states to effectively learn Lakota, you would also need the audio tapes to help with pronunciation and many guttural sounds needed for certain words. The Lakota language lessons were created for college-based students, but the curriculum could be tailored for secondary students as well. The book offers 15 lessons that require a week for each lesson. Many lessons and drills that the textbook offers requires a Lakota-speaking instructor. Today, many Lakota-speaking instructors collaborate to create an up-to-date language orthography for better teaching. Those same instructors also created a Lakota dictionary app, and this app is widely used in many Lakota language classrooms and lessons.
Good.
That's all the summaries.
Okay.
So, for our solutions, you guys have any? I mean, I just say, just keep pushing our Lakota languages in schools, you know? Because back on the res, we always have Lakota classes. I think like, yeah, well, I don't know. I know our like Lakota class back in high school was like a choice, you know? It's either like band class or Lakota class or computer class, you know? I just say, just make Lakota class mandatory for us because we need to know it, you know? It's in our bloodline, so that's what that's one of my sections, you know?
I graduated from Bismarck High and didn't have Lakota classes, and I wanted to take, but they didn't have any.
How about apps? Do you have one, Siobhan, on your phone?
Yeah, it's called the Lakota Dictionary. It's for free,
Great.
and then you just download that. You type in a word, so like, I don't know.
Veronica,
horse.
give her a word. Give her a word to type in.
Woman. So you just type in woman. And then it comes up with, all the things right here.
Does it have an audio?
Yep.
For both male and female.
Yep.
Because in language, you know, there's different words for males and females.
Is
So-
there a word that has the guttural sound that you mentioned in your summary?
Go bear,
Mm,
like Wachto.
Brown.
Wachto.
There's also Dakota Dictionary too. App.
That's dark brown.
Good. With the guttural, you really have to have a conversational class. Many foreign language classes will have the conversational class along with the text.
They also offer, cause this past summer I took the, what is it called, Lakota Summer Institute.
Mhm.
And they speak nothing but Lakota all the way through, like, the classes and everything, so that's where I got my, introduction from.
Good.
So
Total
they taught me how to
immersion.
do it, yeah.
You walk in and there's no English.
I mean, there is English, cause they have to explain to you, like, what they're saying, but they kinda go back and forth and they teach you all the Lakota and then everything's Lakota from there.
And how many weeks was that?
I think it was like
4? 3 or 4?
3 or 4.
Would you recommend it?
I would.
Mhm.
It's a good learning experience. They start out with basics and then they start slowly working their way up.
Okay, good. So if you got a free app, would you bother to download it for free and just start the language yourself?
You could learn like your numbers or, just different words you can type in there if you want.
And just every week, take your tests, take your reminders. Good.
There's also different things on YouTube you can look up, there's the Lakota Consortium or whatever
Mhm.
it's called, and they teach you how to sing songs, they see, like the, it's called the color song, and then they'll just sing all the different songs in there with you.
And singing sometimes can be easier than language because we can remember some of us. And
Sometimes.
sometimes it's easier. But for some
Because when you
learners,
sing it, sometimes the words, they're kind of different when you sing them rather than when you speak
you
them.
can. Mhm. Good. Any questions from the audience?
Any questions?
Because as we go through your notes, we have the boarding school, the dictionary, how the audio is so important, the language professor that Abraham brought up, the change of teaching methods that Keenan brought up, that to have the written kind of goes against the oral tradition of language and communication. But with technology, we can get those audios and preserve them forever. But it's also nice to have the written translation with that, although it's an extra step. That conversational piece is really great for a 3-week class or for the app. Set goals. I want to learn 5 words this week, and the next week I want to add 5 more to that, because with 5, that's, 1 a day, and then the next week it's another word, and then by 10, 12 weeks you'll be doing how are you? You'll be doing hello, goodbye, and phrases.
In that course, the Lakota Summer Institute, they teach you conversational pieces, right off the bat. So you kind of you sit in a group and then you would ask each other questions, like you call each other cousin or you call each other, auntie or niece or something. Then you ask each other, how are you? Or, what did you eat today? And then you respond back.
Good. Then we have the writer and the art-based response from Mitchell. Okay, good job.
Thank you for listening.